Welcome back to The Explainer. I am so glad you're joining us today because, honestly, we're tackling a topic that is literally defining our era. We are standing right on the edge of this massive, unprecedented technological shift, right? But here's the twist. Surviving, and more importantly, really thriving in this new age of AI doesn't actually depend on the machines. It relies entirely on maximizing our own uniquely human cognitive potential.
It's kind of the elephant in the room, isn't it? As AI just rapidly sweeps through our world, completely reshaping our offices and our daily routines, we're all quietly wondering, will machines replace what we do best? Are human skills just going to become obsolete? It's a totally natural question, and it definitely causes a bit of anxiety. But what if we're actually looking at this the wrong way?
We really need a paradigm shift here. You see, the future isn't humans versus AI. It's actually a partnership. And to make that partnership hum, we've got to invest in the single most sophisticated, complex organ we possess, so we can bring out the absolute best in both human and artificial intelligence. Because honestly, the ultimate technology, it's already right inside our heads.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. 1. Human brains and AI. 2. What is brain capital? 3. The trillion-dollar opportunity. 4. Safeguarding brain health. And finally, 5. Fostering vital brain skills.
Okay, let's jump right in. Section 1, Human Brains and AI, the Paradigm Shift.
Moving right along to Section 2, what is brain capital? The dual engines. Now let's look at the actual definition of brain capital, because I really love how perfectly it frames this. Brain capital is a state of optimal brain functioning, combined with the foundational cognitive and interpersonal skills that enable people to adapt and contribute meaningfully. Basically, think of it as the ultimate dual-engine advantage for the modern world. You absolutely need your internal hardware running smoothly, plus the software upgraded to handle some really complex new realities.
Let's just break those two engines down side by side for a second. On one side, you have brain health. That's the physical foundation, optimal brain development, preventing and treating neurological disorders. Then, on the other side, you've got brain skills. This is the really vital stuff: creative thinking, resilience, adaptability, and emotional intelligence. Using your healthy brain to just follow a standard, known recipe? Sure, that's basic health. But using it to invent a totally brand new recipe while the kitchen is metaphorically on fire? That requires some serious brain skills.
All right, Section 3, the trillion-dollar opportunity, stakes and ROI.
Okay, I want you to try and wrap your head around this number. $6.2 trillion. That is the estimated cumulative global GDP gain we could see by 2050 just by scaling up cost-effective health interventions. Doing this could avert 267 million disability-adjusted life years. Now, what that essentially means in plain English is we'd be reclaiming millions of years of human potential that are currently just lost to illness or disability and pouring all of that incredible value right back into society and the economy.
Now, what's really fascinating here is seeing exactly when and how that human potential drops off as we age. Brain conditions make up a staggering 24% of the total global disease burden. Just look at how the challenges morph over time. When we're young, between 10 and 19, mental disorders are a massive burden. By our 30s, mental disorders and substance use both hit their absolute peak. And then as we get into our 70s, neurological disorders like Alzheimer's take over as the primary issue. The real takeaway here is that we are literally losing capacity at every single stage of life.
Which brings us right into Section 4, safeguarding brain health through a life course approach.
The thing is, brain health doesn't just start when we get old. It actually starts before we're even born. Looking at the timeline here, prenatal care sets the whole developmental baseline. Then in childhood, and honestly this is a pretty sobering fact, half of all mental conditions show up by the time someone is just 14 years old. Half! Moving into adulthood, we get hit with massive workplace and environmental stressors. And finally, in older adulthood, the global number of people living with dementia has spiked 160% in just the last 3 decades. So every single stage is a huge critical window for us to intervene. And hey, if we're talking about return on investment, early childhood is basically unmatched. High-quality early learning and nutrition programs pull in 7 to 13% annual economic returns. In some regions, they actually deliver a 9-to-1 benefit-to-cost ratio. It's crazy. Investing early doesn't just help the kid. You're quite literally building the future economy from the ground up. This gives so much urgency to that trillion-dollar opportunity we just talked about.
But what about the adults in the room? Well, our daily lifestyle choices play a massive role in our cognitive longevity. Take strokes as an example. Roughly 85% of the global health impact of strokes is linked to modifiable factors. We're talking about things that are largely in our control, or our society's control, like high blood pressure, air pollution, unhealthy diets, lack of physical activity, and alcohol use. Safeguarding your brain means actively managing those exact risks starting today.
Let's jump right into Section 5, fostering vital brain skills for the future of work.
Check out this list of the most desired future skills from a huge global employer survey. Now, sure, AI and big data are sitting right at the top, but look closely at the rest of the list. Creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, curiosity, lifelong learning. Experts estimate that 59% of all employees are going to need additional training by 2030 just to keep up. So the crucial point here is, yeah, we need to understand the tech, but uniquely human brain skills completely dominate what makes us valuable in an AI-driven economy. And this brilliantly illustrates how all these factors physically tie together in the real world. You can see how basic inputs, like your sleep quality, your community, your social support, flow directly into your mental and neurological health. And those, in turn, funnel straight into the big business outcomes: higher productivity, lower healthcare costs, and a much greater capacity to innovate. Literally, your physical and mental habits are the primary fuel for your professional performance. Let's bring this macro data right down to your day-to-day life. Currently, more than 1 in 5 employees globally are experiencing symptoms of burnout. Think about that. That is a staggering drain on our collective brain capital. You know how pro athletes rigorously manage their physical energy, their recovery, and their training to peak on game day? Well, modern workers have to do the exact same thing with their mental stamina. We simply cannot pour from an empty cup, especially when our jobs demand us to constantly adapt. Let me just reiterate the absolute core thesis of this explainer with this perfect quote. Stronger brains build stronger businesses, economies, and societies. It really is that simple. The fact is, if workplaces proactively invested in employee health and brain skills, it could bump global GDP by up to 12%. When companies invest in their people's cognitive and emotional well-being, the economic payoff is just massive.
So as we wrap things up today, I want to leave you with a bit of a provocative question. How are you going to invest in your ultimate advantage? As AI keeps evolving and taking over the routine stuff, your uniquely human cognitive abilities, your resilience, your raw creativity, your emotional intelligence, those are your most precious assets, no question. Start small, protect your brain health today, and actively build those vital brain skills. Thanks so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. I really hope you're leaving here feeling super empowered to build your own brain capital. Keep learning, stay adaptable.